good, y'all? Michael here today with another video. Before we begin, please go subscribe and leave a like. As always, let's get into the video. Let me talk about this matchup, getting into the Vikings versus the Bears. So, the Bears finally bounce back after a blowout win over the Houston Texans. And before we get into it, I'm just gonna give my little rant because a lot of people are not very happy of the Bears blowing out the Houston Texans. Look, understand something. Hypothetically speaking, if Trubisky is not the guy, then get rid of him. If I'm just pretending I'm a typical Bears fan, just wanting to get a new quarterback. Then why were you guys crying for Trubisky when Nick Foles was sucking on Monday Night Football versus the Minnesota Vikings? Everybody say, "Oh, can we get Mitch back? Oh, how's Mitch doing?" That's all you said. That's all you people kept saying. We need to put back in Mitch. Nick Foles is sucking donkey shit. But then when he loses to the Packers and the Lions, you're like, "Oh, 10 for Zach Wilson. Oh, he ain't the answer." But what do you want? Do you want Trubisky or do you not want Trubisky? Make up your mind. Like, it gets on my nerves. I'm just gonna say you don't want Trubisky because I know the people who bashed Trubisky and begged for him back. So hypothetically speaking, if I'm one of those people and I'm thinking the same thing, I just hope, and if Trubisky's not the answer, free agency. We could sign Cam Newton. We can go sign Jameis Winston. We could sign, who's that guy? We can go trade for Sam Darnold. We could trade for Vince Patrick. We can trade for what's that man? We could trade for. I'm trying to think about. We could sign Dak Prescott. We could trade for. Hell, we could trade a defensive player and trade up in the draft to draft a quarterback. But that's their opinion. I'm pretending to be the person if I was hypothetically thinking as that person. Because most of the hate on Trubisky is on draft day because people just want to be vindicated on draft day. I think Trubisky is the guy, is the NFL future. Now, my whole thing is you need a head coach to analyze his weaknesses and strengths. Okay? Like, for example, hasn't Matt Nagy, I'm talking to you people, not just Bears fans. Matt Nagy isn't a really good head coach. Okay, 2018, yeah, he had that good year, but what has he done to improve Trubisky lately? Because from what I'm seeing, he's trying to make Trubisky throw deep balls. He was trying to make Trubisky just be the Kansas City Chiefs. I didn't hear a negative thing about Matt Nagy last year in 2019. All we heard about is, "Oh, look at this. The Bears should have took Mahomes or Deshaun Watson." Okay. But this dude, Matt Nagy, is trying to make Trubisky look like a pocket passer most of the time and doesn't ignore the fact that he can't do it. And here's the thing. If Matt Nagy tries something and it doesn't work, what makes you think it's going to work again? I mean, that's my whole thing. And a lot of it is on Ryan Pace, too, because I know Ryan Pace has done a lot of offseason moves, getting Jimmy Graham, trading up, getting Jimmy Graham, trading up to get Darnell Mooney, who's been a complete stud for the Bears, and it looks like a steal. You have guys like Robinson. You have guys like a Miller who looks kind of decent, needs to fix the dropping problem. And that's my whole thing. And the hirings he's done, like, are just and you have two very good running backs. And Tariq Cohen is coming back next year. Now, here's the thing. With Bill Lazor, I have 100% confidence in Bill Lazor with Mitch Trubisky. I feel confident that Mitchell Trubisky looks fine under Bill Lazor's play calling than he did under Matt Nagy. Because Trubisky looks like Joe Montana when it comes to Bill Lazor. Okay? But here's the thing. When Nick Foles, okay, I'm not going to count the Atlanta game. Okay? His first game starting, full-time starter, was against Indianapolis. He was garbage versus them. He was decent against Tampa Bay. He was horrible against Carolina. He was donkey shit against the Rams. He was terrible versus the Saints. He was terrible versus the Titans. And he was absolutely, and I mean absolutely dog shit versus the Minnesota Vikings. And this dude goes a game with throwing a touchdown. Well, 2 games he didn't throw a touchdown. And he throws an interception. The Colts, he threw an interception. The Buccaneers, he threw an interception. The Rams, he threw 2 interceptions. I mean, I love Nick Foles, but I can't make an excuse for my favorite player. Like, guys, I know I defended Nick Foles, but now I just want to. The Bears are just fine with Trubisky because his athleticism exempts the fact that the Bears have terrible offensive line. All right, now I got my rant out of that way. And I actually mean that rant, by the way. So hypothetically speaking, this matchup is going to define the Bears season to whether or not we have a chance of making the postseason or not. So the only way the Bears are going to make the playoffs is they win out, most likely. They win out and the Cardinals lose 2 of their games, which is possible. Because the Cardinals' next 3 games, the Eagles look very confident under Jalen Hurts now. The 49ers are the best team without all their players with a winning record. And I should probably hope that Raheem Mostert torches the Cardinals. And I don't think that's going to happen because the 49ers are too banged up to outplay the Cardinals. So then you got the next one, which is the Rams. And I have confidence that the Rams are gonna outplay. It might be considered a blowout game because it's in LA. So I could see them winning one of the games, and that should be against San Francisco or the Eagles. Either way, they're winning one game. So if you look at the Vikings, their 3 opponents are the Bears, the Saints, and the Detroit Lions. There's only one game they hypothetically could win, and that's the Vikings. No, not the Vikings. You have to pray. Like, if we lose to the Vikings, you better pray they lose to the Lions. because Kirk Cousins owns the Lions, like Trubisky. But that's my whole thing. Like, that's the playoff scenario for the Bears, is to win out. And the Bears' next 3 games are the Vikings tomorrow, Jacksonville, the Jaguars, and many chances of the Packers resting their starters if they clinch a seed. Then, if the Bears win out, they will be in. But worst case scenario, we're only allowed to lose one game. One game this upcoming 3-game streak. And that should be against Green Bay. And you better hope the Vikings win doesn't impact it because we beat them already. But you have to pray the Cardinals lose to the Rams, which is, I don't think the Rams are going to have a hard time versus Kyler Murray. So, hypothetically speaking, the Bears could still be in the playoffs with an 8-8 record. Depending who we face, might be New Orleans, might be the Seahawks, might be the Rams, might be I don't think Tampa Bay. No, Tampa Bay is a wild card team. Yeah, it's pretty much confirmed. But hypothetically speaking, we can play either of those teams. But the only games I see the Bears winning is against New Orleans, because we were very close with them last year. I mean, not last year, last game. Then you have the Seahawks, their defense is absolute terrible than the Packers' defense. Then I'll see us possibly being underdogs and getting an upset. But I doubt we're Super Bowl worthy. Like, no one is. I'm not saying the Bears are Super Bowl worthy. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if we make the playoffs and somehow face the Seahawks or the New Orleans Saints, then I would see an upset. But I don't want to. The Rams are much improved than they are. Like, even though Jared Goff can be inconsistent, McVay can exempt the fact, and McVay can still make his team good. All right, now talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings have also been in a terrible stretch as well. You know, they lost to Tampa Bay, and they've been getting in a little bit of close games, almost losing to Carolina because of a missed field goal. Then they almost lost to the Jaguars, who were starting Michael Lennon. So the keys of this matchup, the key injuries, okay? Jalen Johnson of the Bears is questionable. Buster Screen is out for the 2nd week in a row, thank God. Then you have the Vikings, who have Kyle Rudolph and Eric Kendricks out. Then you have their other CB, Alexander, but he's questionable. I think it was the rookie they drafted. So this is a winnable game for the Bears. So you have to get pressure on Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins can be very inconsistent. Okay, he's like the 2nd or 3rd quarterback to lead the league in interceptions. And their whole offense is going to be based on number 33, Dalvin Cook. And this Bears defense has hold Dalvin Cook. Like, this Bears defense legit stops Dalvin Cook. And what the Bears need to do defensively is to get Kirk Cousins to throw interceptions and get pressure. And what the Bears offense needs to do is, here's what I think the Bears did wrong last game, and that was with a different quarterback, Nick Foles. David Montgomery had a concussion, so he couldn't play. So we weren't really a running football team under Nick Foles. We're just throwing the ball, make a play type of team. Minnesota's defense is terrible in every single area, in the secondary, in the run defense. I believe with all my deputy, I believe with all my heart, David Montgomery is going to be the MVP for the Bears, win or lose. Okay, David Montgomery is going to be the MVP. And I'm confident when I say that because David Montgomery, last 3 games since we changed the quarterbacks, has gone completely off. Like he had one receiving touchdown versus the Packers. He also had a big game versus the Packers. He had 2 touchdowns, or was it 3 touchdowns? I think it was 2 touchdowns against the Lions, and the 80-yard touchdown run by David Montgomery against the Houston Texans. So I think David Montgomery is going to have a big game against the Vikings because the Vikings' run defense is terrible from what I hear from Vikings fans. So from what I hear, and Trubisky needs to do what he did last game. Do some a little bit of not really do deep throws, just kind of a short pass and do what he did last game. So that's my whole thing. Like, okay, let me get to my score prediction. And guys, I have the Bears winning of a score of 24-16 because the Bears defense is going to probably do what they did the last 2 games because I'm not a high believer on Chuck Pagano now. I do think Chuck Pagano should go in this offseason, but I do believe if we can get Kirk Cousins under pressure and he can throw like picks, consider this a blowout. But until I see the Bears defense did what they did yesterday and they multiply for the outcome of games, including playoffs, possibly a Super Bowl, then I'll say it. But just 1 game against the bad Texans who were missing all the receivers, we don't know what they can do. Like, but anyway, I will go live tonight depending if the game is on TV. And I'll go live during the second half of the game. I'm not going to do first half because that'd be a little bit boring, just me sitting here and watching and not doing a second half. So I will go live at halftime. So that's it. That's all. Subscribe as always. My name is Michael, and I approve this message.